I am super hyped around Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and because I am so hyped, I have been going back and watching through the old Lego Star Wars trailers, and if you want to see those, definitely go check out our YouTube channel for Star Wars Uplink. Just search Star Wars Uplink on YouTube, and you will be able to find it. But I want to talk about what I'm excited for looking at these past games, and what I'm going to be hopefully seeing in Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. So, let's jump right into that.
Welcome to Uplink.
So, like I said in the intro, I have been going back through and watching, it's such a wave of nostalgia going back and watching those old Lego Star Wars games. I remember going and seeing all of these trailers on TV and being so hyped around these games. And I want to start off by talking about the first Lego Star Wars game, which is just called Lego Star Wars. It was the original trilogy. It wasn't the original trilogy. It was the prequel trilogy that they covered all of the stuff for. And a lot of people, it's hard to go back and play those because I don't think it's on backwards compatibility, or at least I can't find it. But I'm looking for a way to go back and play that first game because I have so many fond memories of myself and my brother sitting down and playing co-op and going through and trying to defeat that. And I remember clearly have this memory of my brother and I spending so much time on that last Obi-Wan versus Anakin match. For some reason, it was just so hard for both of us to actually win and finish that game. It was difficult for some reason, but I do clearly remember and have fond memories of my brother and I staying late up at night and hopping in and playing some Lego Star Wars. And that first game was so good. I remember too going back, I've been watching some old gameplay and trying, because I can't play it myself, but I have gone back and watching the trailers and watching some old gameplay, going in and the hub world being Dex's Diner and inputting. I remember a friend of ours had all of the cheat codes for it, and he'd only give us a couple of those, and I remember using those in the game. And then the next game we have is Lego Star Wars 2, where we get the original trilogy and the amount of nostalgia I have around those games. And I have been going back and replaying that. Sydney has caught a couple glimpses of me playing through that old game as well. I mean, it's not old as some other Star Wars games, but it is getting up there in age now. It's crazy to think that those games are, I think, 10 years old or pretty close to that now. So 2006 is when Lego Star Wars 2 came out. So in about 5 more years, so those games are 5 years old. That game right there is 5 years old, which is crazy to think about. And the first game came out 2005. So that game's been around for 6 years. Oh no. Good gosh, never mind. Those games are much older. Okay, so I have all of my in 5 years, those games will be 20 years old. They are over 10 years old. Oh my gosh, good gravy. Yeah, because those games celebrated 10 years after when Battlefront 2015 came out, which was 6 years ago. So those games are 15 and 16 years old. Goodness gracious alive. Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm going to go cry in a corner because those games came out so long ago. I'm just joking. Yeah, so those games came out quite some time ago, and it doesn't really show. I mean, Traveler's Tales have always been a fantastic game development studio, and I think they are some of the most consistent game developers out there. Their games, at least from my memory, didn't have a whole lot of bugs. I know there's a few YouTube channels that go and exploit the bugs, but they weren't really groundbreaking, and they didn't really crash all that much from my memory. I do remember my brother sneaking into the room and taking the game out of the GameCube and running away in a closet because he wanted us to play with him and not the game. And then afterwards, we have the Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, which has we played that one on Wii, and it was such a fantastic experience going back. And I recently re-downloaded that on the Xbox through backwards compatibility, and that game is also super fun. That was one of the few games that we actually 100%ed and went through and collected everything. We actually maxed out all the stud count for that game, and oh man, the memories around playing Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga were so fun. I don't know how many times I finished that game, but it is quite a few times. Definitely for sure, we played that game quite a bit. But going through and rewatching these trailers, reacting to them on the YouTube channel has just reminded me of how small these games were compared to the current day and age of Lego games. I mean, the amount of customization, the amount of characters, I think the playable characters is up to like 500, and I think the amount of characters in the game is like 700. So they have quite a bit of characters in this. They have, I think someone added up and there was like 20 different worlds that you'll be able to play with in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. And to put this in perspective, the first game, and I think the Complete Saga was the first game for sure, was touting 30 characters. 30 characters that you'll be able to play in this massive Lego Star Wars game. That was one of the big key points that they wanted to highlight in that game, was you could play 30 different characters in that first game, which is wild to think about now that we're going into the world of the current more than 10 times the amount of playable characters will be in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Wild to think about. Another thing on the Lego Star Wars front before we continue this episode, because it's a bit of news that we got here recently, Apple Arcade is getting a Lego Star Wars game. Yes, the canceled Star Wars Battles is actually going to see the light of day. It is going to come out on Apple Arcade pretty soon. We actually don't have a release date quite yet. I just spent some time researching to see if I could find it, but no, we do not have a release date, but it is coming back from the grave, and we're actually going to see it. It will actually see the light of day, which is pretty crazy to think about, that this game was canceled. Like it was slated to come out, I think 2020 or 2021 is when it was originally slated to come out. And then earlier this year, it was officially canceled, sent to the graveyard, and Apple Arcade made some kind of witchcraft deal to bring it to the service, and it's going to be really fun. I'm definitely going to pay the $5 for a month of it and see what it's all about, so definitely stay tuned to the podcast and the YouTube channel as we continue to dive deep and we'll actually get a Star Wars game. Hopefully it comes out this year. I don't know exactly if they're slated to come out this year, but it says coming soon. But again, we're in September already, which is mind-blowing to me. But we are in September, so it is close enough to where they could say coming soon and it still come out in 2022. It could follow suit. I don't know if there's like some contract or something that we're not aware of that just said, hey, you can't release any Star Wars games during 2021, so make sure you release a crap ton in 2022, because that seems to be the time frame for it. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is going to come out then, and maybe this game will come out then, and we should be getting a lot more announcements around Star Wars games as well in 2022. And I don't think we'll see those until 2023, but at least we have 2 Lego games. The Lego games are the ones that are going to be holding us together as we further explore the world of Star Wars gaming. Like, could you imagine, like, if someone told me that the games that we'll be getting in the next few years will be not any AAA games, but Lego games. The more recent the game was Star Wars Squadrons. Star Wars Squadrons came out in 2020, and then the most recent game after that will be Lego games versus any other games, which I'm not complaining because I love Lego games, and I think childhoods and adulthoods, honestly, will be made through that game. I'm so excited to see the depth and the amount of content that's going to be added on the game, because it's massive. It's the open world Star Wars game we all want, just not coming from any other developer. It's coming from Traveler's Tales and the Lego game series. Going back and looking at the old Star Wars games, Lego Star Wars games trailers, it has been quite the adventure. Looking at the scale and kind of small scale that they had, that they slowly grew, and then we get to Lego Star Wars 3, which was one that we didn't play at launch, but we did play later on when my brother got a DS. We were able to play that game on the DS, which was quite the experience. And then I recently went back and played it on the console, and it's a fun experience. It definitely it follows the Clone Wars games, which is fun. It follows them quite closely too. Like I like playing through that game. You're basically playing through the Clone Wars, and you can hop between different strings of storylines as you continue through the game. It's super fun. They have the little planet exploration UI, which is really fun, and it's a good look. And going back and watching the trailers, when they first announced the game, the first trailer they announced, the eyes of the characters were very anime looking, like they were gigantic, and then they adjusted them because of the backlash. People were like, what the heck is going on here? Why are all these people with some weird eyes? Like, Lego should not have these weird looking eyes. So it was so funny looking back and seeing that first trailer and to the later gameplay trailer, a completely different look for the character models that they have there. It's wild to think about that. Wild to think about that they wanted to kind of emulate the Lego, or not the Lego, but they wanted to emulate the Clone Wars character designs through Lego form, and they just did not work. It did not work even slightly for the game. So going back and looking at these games is fascinating to see, and I think we can take a lot of inspiration and looking at the more recent Lego games that they came out with. I never played Lego Incredibles 2. It's gorgeous, and looking at the gameplay footage that we have for Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is crazy. The amount of detail, the texturing on the hair to make it look very Lego-like, like an actual Lego, the scratches on the characters, the imprints of the logos. It's wild to see the look of these characters. I never thought we would get to the point where it looks like an actual animation for Lego. Like, it looks like the Lego movie, honestly. It's crazy to think about seeing the Lego games start to get on the level of beauty and realism that the Lego Star Wars games have now. Like, it's crazy. The next Lego Star Wars game that we got was Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, which came out in June 28th of 2016 and followed the journey of Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, while also filling in the gaps. It actually had a fun story of how C-3PO got his red arm, and was a really fun time and ride in the Lego Star Wars games. I think that was what mainly drew me to the game, but the actual gameplay itself was, it tried to fit a lot of content and gameplay that just didn't really flow well together. They had the different building sections that they've been improving and adding to the games since I think it was Lego Star Wars, or not Lego Star Wars, Lego Jurassic World is where they really started that multiple different builds gameplay style. And then they also added a new way to have gunplay in the Lego games, and they implemented it in this Lego Star Wars game. But what's really funny is, like, it almost seemed like they wanted to make Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, but it was not yet the time. So they actually dropped in some, the game opens you up with Return of the Jedi. You are on Endor, you're playing as Luke and Han, or not Luke and Han, you're playing as Han and Leia, and you're working your way through the Force of Endor, playing through some events of Return of the Jedi, which was crazy to me. I remember thinking, like, what, this is strange. And then we go to play Rey's character arc, and we go through the events of the Lego Star Wars version of The Force Awakens, which it was always funny to me to seeing that. And then I always had this question of, like, are we going to get a Lego Star Wars The Last Jedi and Lego Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker? No, we did not, and they announced that they're going to be making Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and everyone lost their mind. I remember clearly where I was. Sydney and I were watching through EA or not EA Play, E3 one year. And I remember sitting on the couch freaking out because they announced Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. And here we are nearly we're probably like 3 years later after the game was actually officially announced, and we're finally going to be getting that game. And I'm super, super excited to see what they offer and what ultimately comes of the game. And definitely stay tuned to the podcast because we'll be covering all the different experiences that we have. I know Sydney and I are probably going to be playing through it together, split screen co-op, and it's just so fun to me that we're getting a Lego Star Wars game. Once again, the beloved son comes home once again. It's crazy. I'm super excited, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the scale of these games, of this game, and what it really offers. And I think most importantly, I'm excited for Coruscant. Coruscant in a Lego game, it's a Star Wars game. It is Lego, but it is a Star Wars game, and we're finally getting Coruscant after so little time. The only official showing that we've seen since Disney has bought it was, obviously we saw it in the Clone Wars, but more officially we saw a glimpse of it in Rogue One, which, not enough for me. I want more Coruscant all the time. Please give it to me. I could watch and play through Coruscant endlessly. I'd love to see Mandalorian also go back to Coruscant in that time frame. It'd be super awesome. Really cool to see that like Blade Runner-esque style of the world, and really get back to the grunginess and the city feel of Coruscant. Please, I hope Lego does it well, and I think they will. What is everyone's thoughts on Lego Star Wars? Are you really excited about this game? Are you impartial and it's just like, okay, there is a Star Wars game, I guess I'll play it until the other Star Wars games come out? Are you really pumped about it, or you just not really care at all? Let me know if you're watching this on YouTube in the comments below, or if you're listening to this podcast, safely pull over if you're driving or stop what you're doing, and let me know what you're most excited for and how you feel about it through either email, contact@uplinkpodcast.com, or on Twitter @uplinkpodcast. Be very interested to see what you all think and how much you're excited about this game. Are you excited as I am? Did you even play the games before? Would love to hear your feedback there. If you did enjoy this podcast, do consider subscribing and following the feed on your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you did enjoy the podcast, leave a review. We'd love to hear it. We have 142, I think, and we have an average of 5 stars. It's super awesome. Thank you to everyone who has reviewed the podcast and has stuck with us through the dark times of no Star Wars content. But we're so close to getting more. We're getting announcements, and we're getting a lot of teases on Star Wars. So definitely stick with us and stay tuned for the future of this channel and other channels that we have. If you enjoy Battlefield, we have a new podcast called The Battlefield Show. Definitely go check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. We talk about all things Battlefield 2042, and our YouTube channel, Uplink Podcast, is switched over to Battlefield content, and we have our own channel dedicated to Star Wars. So definitely go check that out as well. Thank you all so much for listening. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find podcasts, you can find this show. As always, may the Force be with you.